Okay, quick disclaimer. This story I'm about to recount, I honestly wasn't sure if I should. And in the author's own words, if you read all the way through, I'm sorry to say God won't save you. I don't know if I will stick with it because, shocker, this is some down horrendous stuff that I'm not into. So yeah, viewer discretion is advised. Alright, so picture this. The story starts on this really crowded metro train where everyone's packed together, and there's this couple being all affectionate with each other. You know, doing that cute couple stuff that makes it obvious they're together. And then there's our main character, this 29-year-old guy thinking about love with this total detachment, like he's describing something he's read about but never experienced himself. And we find out why he's so disconnected. His only experiences with intimacy have been, let's say, transactional. Brief encounters that left him viewing real relationships like they're some foreign concept he can't quite grasp. There's something pretty sad about watching everyone else experience something that seems completely out of reach for you. The scene changes to his apartment. It's basic, functional, nothing special. His screen is lighting up his expressionless face as he watches this niche magical girl anime that most people probably never heard of. And the way he watches it, it's like he's just processing information rather than enjoying a story. Then comes this revealing moment. As soon as the episode ends, he doesn't take time to think about what he just watched or message friends about it. Instead, he immediately starts searching online for explicit fan art of the main character. The search results are disappointing. Not enough content. And what he finds is amateur quality that doesn't meet his standards. Faced with this lack of content, he pulls out his tablet, revealing that he's actually a pretty talented artist. He starts drawing with impressive skill, showing he really knows what he's doing, but what he's drawing, it's the character from the show in a situation that's pretty uncomfortable. There's this weird contrast between his obvious artistic talent and the uncomfortable content he's creating. When he finishes his artwork, he reaches for a tissue, something he's clearly done many times before. For this guy, anything intimate only exists through screens and imagination, a solitary habit he's developed in the privacy of his apartment. A place where he doesn't have to deal with rejection or the messiness of real human connection. It's isolation, but it's a kind he's chosen. When daylight comes, we see him at work, this architectural firm where he's been for 9 years. The office has a pretty relaxed vibe despite being mostly men. It's one of those workplaces that tries to be modern and not too formal. During lunch, he and his colleagues get really into discussing the latest anime episodes, analyzing characters and plot developments like they're discussing literature or movies. Their conversation gets interrupted when this older coworker, the kind who probably brags about not understanding technology, jumps in with his opinions. He starts criticizing them for their childish interests and suggests they should focus on finding girlfriends instead of wasting time on cartoons. He has that annoying tone that suggests his way of living is the only right way. Our protagonist responds by questioning whether relationships are really necessary for everyone. He explains that he's not interested in marriage or having kids, and that he values his freedom and hobbies more. The older colleague dismisses this as just typical young people stuff, suggesting they're using words like diversity as excuses to avoid growing up properly. But our guy isn't bothered by this. He doesn't see any reason to change his lifestyle, believing that happiness can come in different forms, not just the traditional ones. Then everything changes when the department head walks in with an announcement. There's a new team member joining them. And when Yumazora Kuroko appears, something shifts in the room. She has this gentle presence, warm smile, soft features that immediately grabs everyone's attention. All the guys in the office suddenly become super enthusiastic. while the few women exchange looks and make sarcastic comments about suddenly becoming invisible. It's like watching a predictable scene play out in real time. As everyone crowds around the newcomer trying to introduce themselves, our protagonist keeps his distance. He's feeling something different, an uneasy feeling that he can't quite put into words. Something about this whole situation just feels off to him. The office organizes a welcome party at a local restaurant, one of those standard places for work gatherings. As they drink more sake, his colleagues start behaving more inappropriately. They ask Kuroko personal questions about her age, whether she's single, and where she lives. Questions that cross professional boundaries. When our protagonist tries to step in, pointing out how invasive they're being, nobody takes him seriously. His colleague insists these kinds of questions are normal for welcome parties, completely missing how uncomfortable the situation is. The objectification gets worse over the next few days. During lunch, his colleagues openly discuss Kuroko's physical attributes as she walks by, carrying documents. Despite our protagonist pointing out that they should respect her as a colleague rather than gossip about her appearance, they ignore him and continue, saying her features trigger their protective instinct. Meanwhile, there's a TV program playing in the background about workplace harassment. The irony completely lost on everyone except our main character. There's this moment where Kuroko accidentally drops a stack of documents, and 3 male colleagues immediately rush to help her, acting overly concerned. She seems embarrassed, but plays into this adorably clumsy image they've created for her. Our protagonist watches this uncomfortable dynamic with growing concern. Later, while he's doing the garbage collection rotation, a task they take turns, when he overhears a colleague joking about how they can avoid janitorial duties now that Kuroko has joined the team. Our protagonist doesn't share their enthusiasm for pushing responsibilities onto the new hire, which gets him some playful mockery from his co-workers. What he doesn't realize is that Kuroko actually witnesses this exchange and seems somewhat amused by his reaction. Then comes this turning point in the story. While emptying the women's restroom trash, he accidentally drops a feminine hygiene product. The moment he recognizes what it is, he feels immediate discomfort and quickly throws it away, mumbling apologies to himself for seeing something so private. At first, this incident leaves him feeling guilty, but that feeling gradually fades as days pass, and he returns to his routine. But then one evening at home, a television advertisement for feminine hygiene products catches his attention, bringing back that forgotten discomfort. That night, lying in bed, curiosity drives him to research menstruation, a biological process he realizes he understands very little about. He reads about ovulation, the uterine lining, and the menstrual cycle with growing fascination. When his thoughts specifically drift to Kuroko's biology, he catches himself feeling ashamed of this inappropriate fixation. Nevertheless, the next time he's on garbage duty, he finds himself staring at another discarded product in the women's restroom trash. By strange coincidence, his rotation on this task seems to align perfectly with Kuroko's monthly cycle. Though he tries to dismiss his interest as meaningless curiosity, something has fundamentally changed in how he perceives things. When Kuroko approaches his desk later that day to discuss work matters, he struggles to focus on her words. His mind keeps going back to his earlier discovery, creating this uncomfortable disconnect between their professional interaction and his private thoughts. That evening, he returns home in uncomfortable silence. Once inside his apartment, he reveals what has been weighing on him. He took the item from the office trash. As he examines it with a mixture of disgust and fascination, he verbally criticizes himself for crossing this boundary. Despite condemning his own actions, he does something truly unthinkable, using the item while imagining Kuroko in a compromising state. The reality of what he's done hits him immediately afterward, causing him to rush to dispose of the evidence while promising himself never to repeat such behavior. The following day at work, Kuroko thanks him for helping her with a project, her genuine smile intensifying his guilt. Despite his internal promises to maintain appropriate boundaries, her presence continues to trigger an awareness of her scent, faint but unmistakable. His self-reproach does nothing to diminish this growing obsession. He begins justifying his behavior by noting that his actions harm no one. This rationalization enables a disturbing monthly ritual, taking Kuroko's personal items from the office trash. With each occurrence, he promises himself it will be the last time, but his actions betray his words. His obsession deepens as he educates himself about feminine biology in clinical detail. Learning about how quickly these materials change after disposal, he begins using airtight containers to preserve what he collects. This knowledge eventually evolves into a more disturbing desire for even fresher samples. 29 days after his last acquisition, he sits at his desk calculating that today should mark the beginning of Kuroko's cycle. When he sees her exit the restroom, he makes his move, ignoring nearby colleagues discussing problems with the bathroom lock. Inside, he examines his find with disturbing reverence, describing the biological processes involved. As he loses himself in this moment, an older female colleague approaches the restroom door. The sound of the doorknob turning jolts him back to reality with terror. The woman apologizes upon realizing the bathroom is occupied, but panic has already taken hold. He checks frantically that the door remained closed before pocketing his acquisition and escaping. Later, he takes a break, completely unaware that back in the bathroom, Kuroko is staring into the trash with growing confusion and concern. Her personal items have been disappearing, a realization that marks the beginning of a dangerous escalation in this story of obsession and violation.